I grew up in Mississippi on the Gulf Coast and near New Orleans. Music was always around. Still is. It came to Duluth and it's all around here. It's everywhere. It's music everywhere. It's kind of like Austin, back in the good old days. There's bands everywhere, and I'm so happy to all the business owners. I'm grateful, I should say, to all the business owners for supporting us, for giving us a place to play and to make our noise, and to all the people who live here, to all the folks who come to the shows and who are enthusiastic about music and art, and just, it's so cool. I never heard of Duluth 2 years before I moved here. I'll float up and I'll be your sky, a place for your star to shine. I'll be cloudy when you need to cry, 'cause your sorrows will also be mine. I'll float up and I'll be your sky. I'll be your lover and I'll be your front, your lifelong supporter, your number one fan. I cannot be perfect, but I promise to be all the best that I can do, 'cause I wanna be something special for you. And I'll be your shining sea, if that's what you need me to be. When you wanna sail away, rock gently upon my waves, I will be your shining sea.
That sounds good.
Thank you. My dad played guitar and keyboards, organ, and bands when he was in high school, like 60s bands. He played like The Doors and Iron Butterfly, organ-based music. And so he always had guitars, and then he'd have his friends come over and they would play. I really lucked out because I started trying to learn how to play guitar, and his buddies would come over and they would play John Prine songs and Willie Nelson songs. There's always music in my house. And so then I would just sit around and play those, whatever I could play. And so from the very beginning, it was singer-songwriter stuff. I liked punk rock music and the Beatles. I didn't know anything about Willie Nelson or John Prine, and now it's like, wow, it's always there. And I heard Bob Dylan when my dad brought home a big box of records that someone was throwing away, and there were all kinds of classic rock, and there was this album called Another Side of Bob Dylan, and I put that thing on, and I'm like, what is this? I just fell in love with it immediately. My parents did not understand why of all the music it would be this thing, but it's been there ever since. I'm like, oh, I could just have an acoustic guitar and make up stories. And I wrote a song last week about Wild Bill Hickok. I'm going for the hits,
Yeah.
But it's about his ghost, so that'll be a hip thing. Yeah. It goes like this. It goes, my mama called me James, they called me Wild Bill. On the stone they placed upon my grave upon Boot Hill. Shot by an assassin, and the coward one at that. He snuck up while I played my cards, and he shot me in the back. I've always been a restless soul, I never settled down, even when they put my bones 6 feet underground. Hell was far too friendly, heaven far too clean. I preferred the dirt of Deadwood and the hate of Abilene. And aces and eights, a red queen on the side. The cards the dealer dealt me on the night that I died. And I've come back with a warning for the gambling man. Beware the cold, cold grip of the dead man's hand. So when Katrina happened, I got a call from my dad, and he said, I've never heard my dad's voice sound like this. It was sort of almost crying, and I could hear the fear. And he said, it's the big one, and we packed up what we can, and we'll talk to you on the other side. And I didn't hear back from him for a month after that call. My whole hometown was wiped out, was gone, and they couldn't get back, and there was no phone in all of Mississippi, and it was all knocked out. And so I didn't know what was going on. And I was walking through the Tenderloin in San Francisco, and I was going to visit a friend, and I run into Kermit Ruffin on the street, and he was playing in town. And I'm like, hey, you're Kermit Ruffin. What's up with you and with Katrina? And he's like, man, we're just going to have to stay on the road. There's nothing to go back. And they told us, don't come back. And I'm like, yeah, I haven't talked to my parents. And like, oh, well, I hope they're okay. I'm like, yeah, me too. I assume they are. And that just 20 minutes later, I got a call from my dad and said that they're okay. And they'd been back. They got back and everything's gone and everything. It's like, wow, that's kind of strange that would happen that way. I walked into a bar. It was the middle of the day. I said, my parents are alive. And they gave me a free drink. That's the way it goes. No one ever knows. The sunbeams will someday find us. You'll find someone new. I'll find someone too. We'll just put this behind us. I was such a fool. Think someone like you can give someone like me all your trust. But that's the way it goes. No one ever knows. The sunbeams will someday find us. So I started making the posters. I was playing in bands in San Francisco, and I was making posters for myself. And I had a friend, and she was kind of an entrepreneur type of person. And she asked me if I'd ever consider making posters for other bands, and I had not. And she said, well, make a MySpace. And this was a long time ago. There was a thing called MySpace. and make one for your posters and see what happens. And I did. I called it Misisipi Mike's Eyeball Pleasing Posters. And the very next day after I made the MySpace, someone got a hold of me and asked me if I would make a poster for them. And I've been doing it ever since. And I do it for bands all over the U.S. and in Europe. And so part of making the posters for me, once I got into it, was, bands or folks they'll get a show and at a cool place. I just did one for a band playing the Kilowatt, which is a classic venue in San Francisco. And if you're in a band and you get a gig like that, I admit it doesn't have to be, the biggest gig in the whole wide world. To you, it's big. That's a big gig, and you practice. You get the band together. You guys rehearse at a rehearsal studio. You invite all your friends. Maybe 3 of your friends show up. You invite everyone you know. And you play the show, and you put all this work into it, and then you put your amps away in your car, and you drive home, and then the gig's over. All of that, it's over. But if you have a poster, you have the gig, you have that memory forever, and you can frame it, you can put it on your wall, and then I played the Kilowatt that one time, or Bottom of the Hill, or the Deck, or whatever it is, And so I'm like, I wanted to make something for people to remember their shows, something, a memory that they can have forever. And I love I get to go to places and I'll see a poster I made on the wall, and it brings back a memory to me of the time that I had with those folks, that I got to make that poster for them. And so that's why I do it. That's why I do the posters. I came out here, I was playing in a band called Actual Wolf. This guy Eric Pollard, and he's from up here. And he kind of convinced me to move up here. He talked highly about Minnesota in general, and particularly northern Minnesota. And I didn't know where Minnesota was on the map. And we came out, he first brought me out here to play with him at Homegrown. Wow, this is crazy. There's bands everywhere, and there's a lot of people, and everywhere you go, it's happening. It was cold. And then we came out in the summer, and we did a tour opening up for Trampled by Turtles. And we came out in the summer, and I'm like, this is paradise. It's so beautiful. It's wonderful. And then I moved here not too long after following that, but he talked very highly about the musicians up here and how good they were. And I thought, you're talking a big talk, buddy. We'll see what it's really like. And he was completely dead on. He was not lying at all. There were lots of great music, all kinds of styles. And it's everything I want. You know, I'm a nut for music and live music and creativity, and it's all right here.